Laffy Taffy.
I know, I'm also allergic to bananas, so...
You know that's artificial banana flavor.
I'm gonna be very sick.
Yeah?
I'm good, alright.
That made me uncomfortable already, so I think I speak for everyone here when I say that made me very
I often make myself uncomfortable.
To have somebody to make you a little less uncomfortable, welcome Sam Nadell to the stage.
So every year between kindergarten and 12th grade in physical education class, I had to run the mile. The operative word being physical and not education. Like I'd be very concerned if other teachers tried to motivate us by saying things like learn harder. we had to run the mile every year, and I was never very good at the mile, especially when I was younger. When I was younger, I was a pretty chubby kid, which surprises some people because I'm like pretty skinny right now. To give you some perspective, between 8th grade and 9th grade, I stayed the same weight, but I grew 6 inches taller, which I thought was a property only reserved for silly putty. And the worst mile for me was in 5th grade, which is a shame because overall, elementary school was pretty great, you know, because elementary school was a time where nobody really knew what cool was yet, so everybody still had a chance. Like in 3rd grade, one kid would make the newspaper club, and everyone would be like, we didn't even consider newspapers, and people would join the newspaper club and join a rival newspaper club, and nobody actually wrote a newspaper because we were 8. But one of the few definitively cool things in elementary school was kickball. And running was pretty associated with kickball because they both involved legs, I guess. And so, you know, running was pretty important. And in 5th grade, I ran my mile in 12 minutes and 16 seconds, which at least for my school was like mythologically slow. Like, it was so slow. Like by the time I'm done, like the tortoise and the hare have finished the race. They're like relaxing and drinking lemonade. Like, there's no moral to the story when you run your mile in 12 minutes and 16 seconds. But the only solace I had in this was that I was one of the 2 slowest kids in the 5th grade class, the other being my friend John. And John is one of my best friends right now, but we're usually in competition with one another, and it's usually over which one of us is cooler. For example, like John created the newspaper club. Like, that was him! Like, he did that. And people liked him for it, so it was like, score 1 for John. And when I first decided that I was going to be attending Cornell University, John told me, congratulations for almost getting into an Ivy League school. I'm on your side, but it's okay because John goes to a liberal arts school, so it's almost like he got into a college. Score 1%. Another thing about the competition between John and I is that the things that we compete over, we're both usually like relatively decent at, or we're both awful. And so, like this past winter, John and I tried skiing for the first time, and it just went terribly. Like, I was learning things about falling down that I hadn't even like considered before, like falling down at high speeds, and falling down without being able to get up again. Like, skiing overall is kind of a silly activity in my mind, because in my mind, you didn't need skiing prior to the invention of ski lifts. Because there was no way to get up the mountain. And so, you know, the first ski lift was invented at the time, it was just called a lift. And then the first 2 people, rode it up and got to the top. And one guy was like, well, now what? And the other guy was like, I don't know, but I've got a pair of these size 1,000,000 shoes. Maybe we can utilize those. So, this was my first time skiing. And, right at the beginning, I hadn't really been taught anything about, like, braking or gravity, and so I put on my skis, and I wasn't even near the mountain at this time, but I was on enough of a slant where I just started to go. I just started moving forward. And fortunately, there was a parked snowmobile about 10 feet ahead of me that I eventually ran into. And I say fortunately, because if that wasn't there, presumably, I would have gone on forever. Like, not forever, I'm sure I would have hit like a lake or the ocean or something, but it would have been a long time. And the thing is, like, when you don't know how to ski, your first instinct to brake, this is ridiculous. Your first instinct to brake is to use the ski poles they give you. And by the time you've done this, they're kind of already behind you. And so you try again, and now you're trying to ski. And so I'd just be like skiing down a road, and everyone would be like, this guy is good. He knows what he's doing. I wonder if he sees that ocean up ahead. So it's 5th grade, and John and I run the 2 slowest mile times in the entire 5th grade class. And fast forward about a week later, and all the 5th grade classes gathered for the presentation of the Presidential Fitness Awards, aka the Fastest Kids in the Class Awards, aka the First Picks in Kickball Awards. And so, you know, I didn't really have anything to do at these types of award ceremonies. You know, like, I was probably thinking at the time, like, at least I'm smart. Maybe one day I'll almost get into an Ivy League school. And so, you know, all the fast kids get their awards and they sit back down. And then I hear my name get called. And it's a very weird sensation hearing your name get called at an award ceremony that you know you don't deserve anything at. Like it's kind of like having no legs and being drafted for war. Like they know you shouldn't be there, and you definitely know you shouldn't be there. But you're still curious, and so I get up, and John got called up too. So John and I are standing in front of our 5th grade class next to our physical educator. And he starts giving the speech about effort and inspiration, but mostly effort. And the entire 5th grade class simultaneously realized, like, these 2 kids are the last pick in kickball. And then John and I realized that this guy's telling everyone we're the last 2 picks in kickball because we weren't getting participation awards because everybody gets participation awards. We were getting poor participation awards. And so we get our awards, which are the same medals that the really fast kids got, which wasn't fooling anybody. And so we sit down to like very confused applause, and for the rest of 5th grade, for kickball, I was the umpire. But I will say that John is currently a varsity athlete at his almost college, while I tell jokes and write for an online comedy newspaper club. And so, in terms of the competition of who's cooler, we'll call it a draw. I'm Sam Nadell.